Hi, welcome back to the channel. As you saw in the previous video on the Bullet 500, I fitted a new set of Hagon shocks on the bike. Now the ones we fitted, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I'll put it in the screen when Sue edits it. These have got preload and damping adjustment. We wanted something really good because we did have a big trip out to Romania and the roads are a bit like Bulgaria over there. As the kilometres went on, the shocks heated up, become like a pogo stick, just bouncing because there was no damping in the shock absorbers. Not so bad when they're cold, but when they're heat up, two up with the luggage we got, it was just too much for them. So we bought these Hagon shocks. The service from Hagon was excellent. I think from England to Bulgaria it was about three days or something, I think. Sue will put me right if I'm wrong. They arrived anyway. As you saw in the previous video, as shocks fitted to a twin shock bike is usually quite a simple job. Well, on the Bullet it's not quite so straightforward. You've got to take the rear mudguard out or move it enough to get the bolts out, because the bolts are fitted from the back. The mudguard's just in the way. So we fitted them and we're out on a test ride today on it, sort of give you my feelings and views on what they're like. Now, when I first put them on and I went for a ride on my own just to check everything was okay, I thought, oh Christ, what's the matter with these? They were solid, absolutely solid. But well, it was that hard. If you stood at the side of the bike, when I pressed down on the passenger part of the seat, the only thing that was moving was the sponge in the seat. The shocks didn't move at all. And they was on the weakest setting and the damping was back right off. So I had a look around. What I did, when I put the shocks on, I torqued the bolts up, the torque wrench, and I thought, well, I wonder if the torque whether it's crushing the rubber bushes on the side. I backed the shocks off, the bolts off on the shock mounts, so there's a bit more than snug, so they're not going to come undone. That did help a little bit. What I did, we sent Hagon's an email telling them of the problem. I thought, well, even still, it's not, they're not plush. I was expecting them to be lovely and plush. Now we did give them my weight, Sue's weight, and the weight of the luggage. That's in like a questionnaire that's on the computer for you on their site to answer. I was expecting them, a company like Hagon's, for them to be what I call bang on, you see. They replied and said the bolts don't over tighten them, which I'd backed them off. I'd made a slight difference. That the shocks might take a little bit of bedding in. They could supply weaker springs if we wished, but the next spring down was for the rider's weight. He says we don't send this spring unless the rider is under, I think he said 76 kilogram. Well, I'm over 80, so it'd probably been too soft. There was a few other things I mentioned, so I sort of he says you've got to give him a bit of time, so there's no problem. Also, he reckons the bushes, anybody coming? The bushes on the shock absorbers could be a bit tight, and the seals. So what I did, I sprayed some WD-40 on the shock absorber rod, the silver rod in the centre of the shock. So if the seals are a bit dry, it's going to help. But what I did, I put the spring compression on the hardest setting that I could get the shock absorber on, which was quite a job anyway. I had to actually have an extension on my C-spanner. And what I did then, I left it overnight on maximum setting. Then in the morning I set it off back down to the minimum setting, and the damping, I backed right off to nothing, then one click. And it did feel, I went out on my own, it did feel slightly better. So I'm out today with Sue. To be honest, the shocks are working quite well, quite happy with them now. Quite plush, actual fact, I've clicked the damping up, one more click, so I'm 2 from 0 now. And I think there's 13 settings on the damping, so there's plenty of adjustment. We're still on the minimum setting on the spring rate, so there's plenty of adjustment, but I can't see need adjusting much more. And obviously the Bulgarian roads are bad and they're very compliant. Even going over speed humps, Sue says they're smooth, so it looks a bit like a win-win really. Going for twin shock, it's not bad at all. I can't complain. So from me, I'm very happy. We'll see what Sue says when we get off. And I'd just like to say Hagon's after service is excellent. When we sent an email, they answered next day. No, not like some companies. Yeah, so excellent service. So it's 10 out of 10 for me. So we'll park up, get a cup of coffee, and see what Sue has to say about him. Right. Well, we just pulled up, got a coffee. Like I says, what I thought about the shocks really good. Like, so, what do you think, Doc?
Definitely tell the difference. It seems a lot plusher. It was a good bike before, in my opinion, but it seems even more comfortable now. Going over the speed humps and the potholes, of which we have many, it seems to almost glide over them now. You're not getting the harshness coming back down on the seat.
Yeah, it's not bottoming out anymore, definitely. The only thing I notice is that I know the shocks were slightly longer, and that was what he did put back in his email. How the shocks are in set measurements. The next set down would have been too short. The ones they sent us is what they send as a stock Bullet 500 shock measurement, which is slightly longer, not much, but it is slightly longer, which puts a bit more preload when you first initially fit them. You have to put a punch in to pull the shocks down, and it made the bike sit up a lot higher. Actual fact, I'm sort of on not tiptoes, but not flat-footed anymore. I know we've got the touring seat on, which is quite a bit taller, isn't it?
The touring seat made a difference as well, yeah. I noticed when we put the touring seat on with the original shocks, it was that little bit higher to get on and off.
Yeah, it seems quite a bit taller now. No problem, sort of thing. But I think what was happening was, with the standard shocks, when we was both sat on it, the shocks went down quite a bit. So the bike was sort of lower even. But what it did then, if we hit the bad bumps, it was bottoming out because we'd already took up half the travel and they were set on the maximum, weren't
That's
they?
true, yeah.
Now we're set on the minimum setting, and the damping's 2 clicks in from being off the weakest setting, which seems to work quite well, doesn't it?
I'm quite happy with it on the bag, definitely.
Yeah. It's a lot smoother. For twin shock bike, it's working quite well. It's actually a lot better shocks now than what I've got on my Interceptor, which are the stock ones, which I don't think are too bad. But anyway, so it looks like it's a win-win for us, isn't it?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, because it's our 2-up bike out of the 3 bikes we got. Himalayan is more comfy, obviously, but it's a lot taller. And as we're both not teenagers anymore.
A long way off that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, there you go. And the Interceptor, well, the Bullet's just your favourite bike, isn't
Yeah,
it?
the Interceptor's okay. I mean, I'd go on it, but given a choice, it would be the Bullet every time, I admit.
Yeah, like I said today, I was a bit bored at home. Shall we go out on the bike? Oh, we're going on the Bullet. I'm going on the Bullet.
That's true, yeah.
Right, so anybody thinking they wanted some shocks, I would definitely recommend using the Hagons. Good.
They're not the cheapest, but you get what you pay for, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the after service was great. Once it was sent to an email, and
can't fault the after service. I was well impressed.
Yeah, and we're happy with the shocks. So yes, I would say anybody wants a decent pair of shocks, buy Hagons. And if they are for your Bullet or your Classic, just spend that little bit extra and get the ones with adjustable damping. It's a little Allen key fits in at the top. That means you can control the speed of the shock absorber going up and down. If it heats up and it starts to go faster, you can just adjust that 1 click. But I think how ours are set now on 2, it's going to be fine. And the spring rate, our shocks, I don't think we'll put any more than we're on the lowest setting on the compression, and just leave it to that. It seems good to me. But it's made a good bike even better. So, hope this was useful for you. Big thumbs up if it was. Please subscribe. Keep saying it. Doesn't cost you nothing. Helps us with the channel. Helps the channel to grow. Any comments, leave them down below. We always answer them. Well, Sue asked me the question. She types it in the computer. A bit better than me. And we'll see you in the next video again then. Cheers.